please welcome Arn Tellem, Vice Chairman of Piston Sports and Entertainment and Chair of the 2022 Mackinac Policy Conference.
Got me again. I'm honored to be here and introduce our next featured session, a fireside chat with Emmy Award-winning NBC broadcaster, Ann Arbor resident, and Michigan's own Mike Tirico, who's done tremendous work for us this week, and a man who is dear to my heart, Flint, Michigan native, founder and chairman and CEO of Platinum Equity, and Detroit Pistons owner Tom Gores. It's also great to have, along with Tom, his wife and partner, Holly. They have an incredible marriage and partnership. Holly has a very strong voice in everything that goes on in Michigan. I want to also acknowledge his daughter, Katrina, and her boyfriend, Tyler Hockman. I'm confident in telling you that there is no one like Tom Gores, and it starts with his big heart. No one has a bigger heart than Tom. Working with Tom and executing his vision over the last 7 years has been a real honor. Every day, I get to witness how much he cares about improving the lives of others, of leaving this world in a better place than he found it, and always striving, in his words, to be impactful. He's an inclusive and collaborative leader, seeking out everyone's voice in the organization, including players, coaches, basketball, and business personnel. In our 7 years working together, we have moved the franchise forward on many fronts, and with every decision and initiative, we've challenged ourselves to make a difference. I'm proud of the work we've accomplished, and I'm even more excited about our future together. Let's have a look at the video.
It's interesting about dreams, right? I mean, of course, I always wanted to own a sports team. This is an unbelievable city. It's an unbelievable organization. I will be impactful.
Pistons are actually the talk of the NBA after making a couple of deals to land 3 picks in the top 20. The rebuild, very much happening in Detroit.
Is there going to be a learning curve? Yes. We're going to make mistakes? Yes. Everybody does.
I knew Dwayne was good. Of course, he's got all the accolades, the track record, but we care about the community. The reason I like Dwayne is because he cares too.
One of the best talent evaluators out there is Troy Weaver.
This is a storied franchise. We have greatness here. We want to restore that greatness just like a classic car.
With the first pick, the Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham.
Work hard, be consistent every day, be a good teammate and lead as much as I can.
Big day for the city of Detroit. In just a few hours, a ribbon cutting ceremony will be held.
First time since about 1988 that both the Pistons and the Red Wings will be playing inside the city limits.
Palace Sports and Entertainment and Olympia Entertainment are now joining forces. Metro Detroit music fans will now have a whole new way to buy their tickets.
This is the brand new Henry Ford Detroit Pistons Performance Center. It will be the first NBA practice facility to introduce publicly accessible food when Plum Market opens and fitness.
On behalf of Tom Gores, our owner, I'm really excited that we're able to make this announcement today that we've acquired the Phoenix Suns G League franchise.
This is major that TG, the Detroit Pistons, and Platinum Equity stepped up big time and gave a $1 million donation towards those efforts.
If it wasn't for him donating to us, we wouldn't be able to donate to those other organizations.
I said in the early days that I wanted to be impactful. I wanted us to be impactful.
That donation will specifically benefit the Save Detroit Play Center by creating an entrepreneurial program for the city's youth.
We can have a lot of fun with this. Good luck, Tom Gores, the owner of the Pistons.
Wow. There are going to be 60 courts like this
in neighborhoods all over the city.
One of those people moved to help is the owner of the NBA team, the Detroit Pistons. He pledged $10 million.
But I really want to use the crisis now as a catalyst to revitalize Flint.
Hundreds of families stood in line tonight to receive free toys.
Tom and Holly have been doing this for 12 years, and I think they've approximately put out about 120,000 gifts over the course of that time.
The owner of the Detroit Pistons is donating 100,000 PPE masks
To be given to Detroit police officers, firefighters, bus drivers, and other city workers serving the public.
We've heard chants of, "I can't breathe. Hands up, don't shoot."
In Detroit, a 9th night of protests underway with a plan to try to keep things peaceful again.
Tom and I were talking last night. He came up with an idea, an initiative he's going to tell you about. But again, it's all about social justice. It's about empowering you, giving you a voice.
I wouldn't have, imagined getting an opportunity, especially this young, just to include us into, social justice and, giving back to the community. The fact that Mr. Gores is allowing us to have a power and a voice means a lot to us.
This is just a wonderful project that's going to touch the lives of so many people.
He came to us players. He asked us, what do you guys want to do to give back to the community? I think the tour is what did it for us. Being able to go into a community center in Detroit and see different services that it brings to the community. I feel like a community center helped shape who I am, provided a safe space for me, so it'll provide a safe space for kids.
The great thing about Tom, his heart's in the right place. Sure, we wanted to improve the team, that's at the heart of it, but equal to that was his passion and desire to make a real difference in Detroit. And he's backed that up in spades.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tom Gores, founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Platinum Equity and owner of the Detroit Pistons, and Mike Tirico, host of NBC Sports.
Well, hello. Great to see everyone. Great to be here as we wrap up the week. I just have to let you know that this is Tom's first time here for the conference. And if you come back in a couple of years, we're going to have to move your appearance up a couple of days, because this will be night one of the Pistons hosting the NBA Finals in a few years.
All right, yeah,
right?
That's right.
Let's do that, right?
That's right.
So I have not had the pleasure of sitting down and interviewing or having a conversation with Tom. My time in the NBA ran until 2016. Our paths didn't cross. And we had a conversation Monday on the phone, and just like two people connected to Michigan, it took us 5 minutes to find something in common. We're both married to Downriver girls. So I'm like, okay, now we're in business. Now we can talk. Tom, that video that Aaron just shared was awesome, because I follow what goes on here. I didn't realize there were that many things that your connection with the Pistons here since 2011 has led to. And I'm going to ask you to share, if you don't mind, what we shared on the phone. Why? Why is a guy who was starting in Flint without much, took a cross-country trip, started cold calling, and is now one of the most impressive private companies in the world, why do you feel like this is your calling at this point in your life?
Well, first, I think I can. I was blessed enough to get successful, be successful. I grew up in Michigan. Michigan did a lot for me. I was born in Nazareth, Israel. I came over when I was 4.5. Mm-hmm. Went to kindergarten. I really barely spoke English. And Flint and Detroit and the whole thing took care of me. I feel obligated. It's really not a matter of want to. Mm-hmm. It's just a responsibility. And at the same time, what an incredible platform to make change. The thing that excited me as a kid, Mike, was if I ever had a chance to help people. That was a big deal. And the minute I made any money, I went and bought my mom a watch. And, it just feels good. But it's my responsibility. There's a lot to do.
And you've done it in the community. And I'm curious, as we're sitting backstage and you see all those moments of when marches were happening, post George Floyd, go back to your words 11 years ago about the connectivity. That community thing doesn't always come through when people own sports teams. But you really feel a feel for that, and you connect your players. It's not just a Tom Gores thing, it's a Detroit Pistons organization thing that I think when we see that, we realize what you guys have truly accomplished.
Yeah, and look, watching it, the only thing I could think of is to not let you guys down, not let the city down. You know, they supported me in becoming an owner of the Pistons, and I have great responsibilities. So watching it, as much as I absorbed all these things we've done, and our thesis is connectivity, empowerment, all of that stuff. It's just like the company I built, Platinum Equity. It is the thesis, but honestly, it's a bit overwhelming. And at the same time, I have to say, for all that we've done, we're just scratching the surface. We're not even close to doing, what we need to do ultimately.
And what I love about that is, we can have an opera, a ballet, so many traveling things that represent a community, but sports is the one entity where Detroit is across the jerseys. You go to Charlotte, you go to LA, you go to Salt Lake City to play the Utah Jazz, and the team represents Detroit. But now the franchise is representing this area and what it's all about. What have you found as you've come back home and seen the things that need to be done in our community, in our area? What have you noticed as the change that has started since you've been a part of this the last 11 years?
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that, you always have these big dreams to make a lot of impact very early and very fast. And I think we've made a lot of impact. But honestly, it's not moving fast enough. And it's a bit disappointing. What's exciting is we've got a sports team and a platform to continue to make change. And obviously, Mayor, you're here, and we're all trying to make change. I think part of our job is not to wake up feeling like a hero. There's just a lot of work to do. And as much as I love basketball and, I'll go to the games when I can, I have a lot of work to do for this community. I'm excited about making change and accelerating change. And one of the things about a basketball team is these players also are very smart, and they can influence a lot of folks. And that's been fun too. My approach with the players is to not be afraid to be personal with them. They're players, but they're people. And that's where it has to start. And I think just the culture that we have right now with Dwayne and Troy as leaders is excellent. And Arn knows I'm here, right, Arn? Arn, I'd be remiss to not tell you thank you very much and that I love you. And came on board 8 years ago. He literally moved everything in his life. Nancy, his partner. I mean, really, I can't thank you enough. I saw Arn last night and he kept hugging me. He knows more people than I do in Michigan. And he was like all of this with me last night just to make sure I was here. And so Arn, I'm here. And as an agent, Arn, where is Arn?
He's back doing a deal somewhere, probably. He's lining up the next guest.
He's a real change agent. And Arn's goal, coming from being one of the most famous agents, was to make a difference. Yeah. And Arn, wherever you are, you've made a difference. Nancy, you too.
No doubt.
Yeah, there you are.
No doubt. There he is. I sent somebody a picture of our Tuesday evening visit with Lee Trevino, Isaiah Thomas, Tom Izzo, Alana Myers-Taylor, the 5-time Olympic medalist, and Mia Hamm. And somebody said, how did all those people get to Mackinac Island? I said, Arn, tell them. That's the answer.
That's funny.
I want to get to the topic of the conference a little bit and how this connects to you and the Pistons and Platinum and your family foundation as well. The topic's the business community's changing role in polarizing times, right? That's just such a hot button. We want to know, how can we get everybody to hold hands and kumbaya and get along? So you've described why you want to make an impact and the personal connection with Michigan. Let's talk about how we do that, because it's not easy. Like you said, there are a lot of nice words said here, but the actions are the hard part. How, in your view, does that happen?
Well, you have to establish, in my view, common ground with everyone. And that means we have to listen to each other. In as much as I think we've got a lot of division, I think we also have as much misunderstanding as we do division. And I've found that great people can misunderstand each other. And unless they talk and they listen, they don't really find out how to get to where they have to get to. And as you asked me the why, I think we have to ask our partners and people we talk to about the why. And why do you feel this way? Whether you're right or wrong, So we have to engage with that voice and be open. Otherwise, we're fraught with misunderstanding. And to me, that's an important part of the culture. I run my company that way. I run my family that way. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to take this advice, but my thing, and I have 3 kids, was I didn't like the answer no that Holly and I would give to the kids, or the answer yes. It was why. And the beauty is why is it's a process, and everybody has a voice. Right. Your answer doesn't have to be yes, and a lot of times for the kids, it wasn't. It ended up a no. But they had a voice. They had an opportunity to express themselves, and everything seemed a little better, even if the answer was no. And many times, they came to the answer by themselves. Right. And a small percentage of the time, they were successful in getting a yes.
So you empowered them to answer the question.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting. And you find that you can, did that work, by the way? Damn, why didn't you guys tell me that 20 years ago when we were raising kids? It would have been a lot easier for me. But do you find that works when it's not family, when it's not your kids, when it's organizations that may not see the world the same way you see them?
Absolutely. I think it's the only way. And look, sometimes you have to give the order and you have to give the mission and the strategy. Mm-hmm. But to miss a voice in the conversation is not going to make anyone feel good. Right. And you check a big box when you get the voice in. And then if the marching orders are XYZ, they're marching orders. And that's how we run our company. It's very collaborative. But you have to start with the why. And if you don't, you're just giving orders. And you're not really creating a lot of momentum and buy-in, whether it's your life, whether it's a basketball team, whether it's a community.
We talk about a word a lot in sports, and that's culture. We're going to hire this coach, and he's going to bring that culture. This GM is going to bring a culture that changes this organization. It sounds really good, but it's really hard to define. Yeah. So before I ask you about culture with sports, I want to ask you about culture with Platinum, because what is it? It's about 50 companies or so?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's such a wide variance of different businesses that Platinum touches, right? Yep. Everything from the games and bingo cards that you use at a charitable fundraiser, to Ingersoll Rand, to golf carts, to a whole bunch of different things. How do you get one culture, or at least the seed for culture, to spread out over something as wide as Platinum is and help set a culture? Because that's what we're trying to do here this week, is get this culture to be part of everyone on both sides of the aisle in our state.
Yeah, I think, first of all, culture a lot of times is confused for a feeling. Culture is more than a feeling. It's the way you act. It's how you function every day, your processes, how you communicate with each other, the why, and so on. And although I have all kinds of different people at Platinum, they're like-minded in a certain way. Mm-hmm. So I don't like rude people. I don't think you get that much rude. It's not I love strong people. But if you're rude, there's really no room for it. You're using the rude weapon for nothing, and especially if you have power. So there's certain things within Platinum I've never allowed. And if you're a rude person, you come in and you just yell at the person at the desk for no reason, that's not going to work in Platinum. I can tell you, Aaron, I haven't yelled at you yet, but like this. But, that, first of all, is not a quality place to live, even if you got some results. The journey matters, and how people feel matters.
And that strikes me as this inflection point with the basketball team, because what do we judge sports on? Wins and losses. Did you win? Did you make the playoffs? All that. But how you get there sometimes really matters. You can get there with a bad culture with the wrong guys.
Right.
And you may be a comet and fly high, but then we won't hear from you for quite some time.
Yep.
So how has that culture building gone with Arn, mentioned Dwayne Casey, Troy Weaver, who, if you don't know, is one of the most exceptional people in addition to being a rock star in terms of talent evaluation in the NBA. How is that culture building going for you as you look back and assess it right now?
Well, we have great leaders. Dwayne and Troy are both, good leaders, and they know exactly what they're doing, but they're also both very respectful, and they communicate well. And I think having respect is the beginning. Even with our players, we know they can move around, and so on. There's trades, it's just part of the business.
Right.
but we have to have respect with each other. And, they're more than just basketball players. And Arn and I and Dwayne and Troy, if we have to move players, so that we want to talk to them, we do everything we can and then to make sure they land. Because it's important not to feel just like a basketball player, in and out, like just a goods.
Right.
So that, to me, if you don't have respect, there's no culture to build. You have to start with respect. And if you communicate your feelings, and you go from there. Sometimes they're tough decisions, but just showing respect and the courtesy to communicate, I think, establishes trust.
Right. And we're seeing that, I think, with the kind of people you're bringing into this organization right now. The topic of diversity has been in every boardroom, every conversation. How many people have somebody new in charge of DE&I at their company that didn't exist 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So diversity is a hot buzzword, but it also needs authenticity to it.
That's right. Yep.
So we talked about culture. As you're looking at your companies and looking at the Pistons as well, how do we reconcile diversity, achieving that, yet doing it within our culture that we've built to try to make sure that that's a harmonious connection?
Yeah, I think, diversity needs to be embraced, not as hey, we should have diversity. If you don't embrace diversity, you don't see other people's points of views. So I think the first thing is that diversity is good. It's better. Better decisions get made, more collaboration gets made. You're not narrow-minded, you see the whole world.
Right.
So we see diversity as a must-have in terms of, that's what we should do. It's the right thing to do.
Right.
We have to also understand and buy in that it is a good thing to do. In diversity, I think with our minority groups and so on, we do need more process. We can't say get diversity and not run the numbers and run it like a business. We do have to know if we're interviewing 5 people, X, Y, Z, this has to be in the interviewing process. We have to have a fair process. So there's also that part of it,
right,
Mike, in that we've got to run it systematically and not a word. It's, to me, one of the frustrations out there in the lack of progress is we use these words with no plan to execute on it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing without execution. So I think that's the other side of diversity is, one, realize it's a really good thing. It's not just, we should be diverse. That's a great life and a great business and so on. But we also have to run it like a business. We have to make a commitment to it.
In that video, obviously the accomplishments stick out, the team downtown, the Henry Ford Performance Center, all of that stuff really resonates. But what stuck out to me was towards the very end, the sound bites from the players. Yeah. Because now we're stringing a few things together, the culture part, the diversity part, and the empowerment part. Because you are now empowering young players who maybe don't know a darn thing about Detroit. They don't have the connection like you have to Flint.
Right.
You're empowering them to be a part of the solution that you're using the community connection of an organization with. So what are the experiences you found in the empowerment part of this that carry from Platinum to the Pistons to your family foundation as well that are really starting to pay dividends in the Detroit community?
Yeah, sure. Empowerment, again, is a very big word, right? And I think it's a great thing to give. But at the same time, when you give empowerment, you have to create accountability. Right. And you've got to get people invested. Otherwise, you have empowerment on its own. If we empower you, let's get some results and let's get you invested. So with the players as an example, after the George Floyd thing, we held a company Zoom, a Pistons Zoom. We got all the players, Arn and I, Troy and Dwayne. And, obviously everybody was upset about it.
Right.
But we can't do everything from up here. Mm-hmm. And I can't. I know where I am today. I'm not living the ground every day. The players are, and they have, and they've been hurt, and they've been through tough situations. So I talked to Arn and Dwayne and Troy and said, look, how do we just get their voice out there? I don't want to make these big decisions. And we had the Zoom. I let them know that we wanted to do something, that I was not going to define it myself, but we were committed to do something to make more progress and faster, and that we would like to engage them. And it took pretty much the season. They're busy and everything.
Sure.
But they went, they visited the site that we now have, and they dug in. and they're fully invested, and now it's theirs. It's not mine. I don't care about my name there. I care about momentum. And now we have our players who visit there, the community center. I mean, you were going to say it, but and so on. So that, to me, is more important than just the money. We've created momentum, and it does tie together in the way we do everything, whether it's Arn and the business side of the Pistons or Platinum. We've got to get people invested. The momentum, I can only get it so far.
Right. Hold off on that community center for a second, because I want to explore that for a minute. I want you to come back to the players, because here are the guys you draft, here are the guys you bring into Detroit, and they are the faces of something you own, and an entity that the community runs behind and feels like they can support. What have you noticed from the 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds who are coming into the NBA? They're learning about what life is going to be like with a significant forward-facing role, yet you're sitting there empowering them to be part of that change. What are you hearing back and seeing back when your players are doing these things?
Well, I'm seeing that these young folks are really smart. And maybe it's, the internet stage, and they know a lot, and a lot more than we give them credit for.
And we're talking some of the guys who are only 1 or 2 years of college,
right,
yet have been exposed to a lot from age 12 and 13 in these AAU circuits.
And they've got a lot to say. And I always see the players as raw in terms of they'd love to say what they want to say,
right,
but they don't have a venue to do it sometimes. And as an owner, I think I should provide a different venue, a comfortable one, not one, I obviously grew up in Flint, so I begin to relate a little bit, but even so, just recognize them as people, and not just great basketball players and what they could do for you. More, what do you want to accomplish in life, and so on. They really have a lot to say. I find young people amazing compared to like when I was their age. I had no idea, and they're just, much more informed on everything. And I think creating that conversation, I think sometimes the players are surprised that I want to.
Yeah.
And of course I do. But I've noticed they really have a lot to say and intelligent things to say.
I want to go back to you for just a minute, because I really found this fascinating in our conversation. You really had a vision, and you didn't know what it was necessarily, because when you left to head out to the West Coast, it wasn't with a destination in mind. You didn't know what was out there. It wasn't, I'm going to set out to build Platinum Equity into one of the top private companies in the country, if not the world. Can you just go back to the story of, we're going to get in the car, we're going to go, and how Tom Gores helped make all of this that we're talking about today a reality?
Sure. Well, let's see. 22 at the time, and I was in the software business, and just trying to build a software business. My dad had just passed away, and my dad's the architect of our family. My mom is the builder of our family. They really work together well, and my dad had passed away, and he has always told me, look, like, Tommy, like, I didn't bring you here now to stop. You have to keep going.
Right.
And it was both really sad for me, but also inspirational in that, that was his vision. I think that's why vision is so important. And about 9 months later, I finally was in the car and put a little music on, and it really just got me inspired to not disappoint him. And so I needed to move to the West Coast to, help build this software company. I had met Holly probably 6 months, I think 6 months after my dad died and everything.
Michigan State Spartans both, right?
Yeah, didn't meet there. She avoided me, I guess, but yeah.
Like, honestly, it's like a Pavlovian experiment. Say Michigan State, somebody yells go green, somebody else go white.
Yeah.
It's great, good. I'm glad you got that out of you, that's fine. You can do that to the governor when she comes up in a few minutes as well, so go ahead.
So long story.
So we're on the road.
Long story short, so, Holly, you're involved in this ride. And I said, look, I got to get out because that's where my opportunity is. I have to go west, part of this software company. I asked Holly if she wanted to go. We didn't know each other that well. She said yes, surprisingly. And we drove out. And, got settled there, eventually moved my mom there and stuff, and then started Platinum in 1995. With nothing, by the way. I always tell my kids, in this world, and if there's any kids out here, everybody's successful so young and everything. I was broke at 30. So just so you know, I mean, that's, but I had great experiences, work experiences between 15 and 30 that built who I am.
So you had something to fall back on in your soul.
And I had a lot of intelligence and experience and all that stuff. And I think that's important too, Mike, in terms of I think it's important for kids to be able to fall back on something. I get the sink or swim thing. I'm not a believer in it. I think you should go fly and you have home there for you. Because home is your haven, and it doesn't make you weak to have a home. And, my parents did it to me even though they had nothing. I always had a home to go back to, and I just think that's a really important thing. And I've seen parents do it different ways. I just think there's nothing more valuable than having a comfortable home. And so, so Platinum, and then, here we are.
What a great story. It's an amazing story. You think about the journey here, and now here you are with such a connection to the city, to the state where you grew up in, and continuing to build on that. And for those who didn't see it yesterday, maybe you spent too much time at a cocktail party. Not that anybody in this room did that yesterday, but Tom, Pistons, a great announcement yesterday about a community center, $20 million project. And we saw some of the pictures a moment ago. This is the start, but I know from our conversations, this is not the end. What's next in your vision and your ability to leave a legacy here and give back?
Well,
yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Well, hopefully it's the first of many in just learning about this community center. And as I said, our players really drove, why it made sense, what it could do for families and stuff. And
when you say the players drove it, like they know, because a lot of them grew up.
They did.
Playing hoops in community centers like this around the country, and they see that a place to play can change your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is being built and done in a way that it's not just going to be a place to play. It's going to be a place to, move life forward. There'll be a lawyer if they're buying a house. There'll be a laundromat. The thing that we have a hard time with, again, I go back to, what we have to do a better job at is there is no tomorrow if we don't handle today.
Right.
If you don't know how to buy the house or just get the simple things done in your life, there is no tomorrow. So we constantly talk about the future, and we have to express and show to kids and the unfortunate kids especially, is that the future is close. And the only way they're going to feel that the future is close is that tomorrow is okay. That it's going to be tomorrow, not 5 years from now. That tomorrow is just a little bit better. So I'm pretty excited in that it's a community center. Kids will go there. They'll have a good time. It'll be a stable place to be. There'll be tutors. There'll be laundromats. The things that everyday life has to happen. Like tomorrow, we have life. There's groceries. There's the basic things. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. It's really great. I love the quote, there are no limits to what you can achieve. So as you're driving the lane, if you get knocked down, you get fouled, you go to the free throw line, just a reminder.
That's right.
Get back up and do it again, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. The ambition, the investment, all of that is really impressive. It's more than I know, which really speaks to a lot of what you guys do. You're not seeking the credit for it. You're out there getting the job done. And that's why I appreciate you coming out here to do this today in this conversation. So with all this, let's wrap up with this. You see these things, you have family here, you're back in Michigan. What are you, as an individual, most proud of with all the things that have been a part of the last 30 years in your incredible journey?
I'm proud of creating that culture. Leaders like Arn and Dwayne and Troy and everybody underneath of them in this culture of collaboration and so on. And of course, I'm proud of the things we did with Say Detroit. We empowered the kids. But I think there is a rhythm to our culture. And at the same time, we really just haven't begun. I mean, I think we have done a lot, but I've never been a person to look back that far. I look a little bit and appreciate it, and then I'm just looking forward. Mm-hmm. So, now I'm really thinking about the future, Mike. one of the things that concerns me about the future, and it's been on my mind actually quite a bit for a while, is that I feel like in our world, especially in our social progress, is that we are controlled by crisis.
Right.
And while we're controlled by crisis, we don't pursue opportunity. Mm-hmm. So in the next several months, I think probably by the end of the year, I want to create an organization. The community center is just the first of it. I'll personally put $100 million in myself. This is an announcement.
Whoa.
Wow. So, and the thing is, the money by itself will not solve it. We have to have an organization set up, just like my Platinum Equity does, that is able to handle crisis, but the cost of crisis can't be the cost of opportunity. And I think that's why we're not making enough progress. We have to handle these crises are not going to go away.
Right.
So I'm going to set up an organization. I have a name. I'm not allowed to disclose it. I guess we got to get it trademarked or something. But I really want to have an organization like Platinum that both handles problems. I can assure you one thing: we're going to have more problems.
Right. Yeah.
That's 100%. Mm-hmm. The question is, can we do this in a way that we don't sacrifice opportunity and we get distracted? Because we all go, and everybody's well-minded to try to help out. And we all swarm to the problem.
Absolutely.
But then what are we doing about creating inspiration and opportunity for kids to go forward? That is the future. So I'm excited about setting up an organization that can do both. And these will be two different leaders. It'll be two different divisions, just like I would set up a company. It'll be set up in a way that's business, but it has different goals. It's charitable. But it'll execute in a way that we can actually make progress. One thing ends up canceling the other out. And I really think, it'll be one of its kind. I do think that's a dilemma for us in that we get distracted, again, all well-minded people, by the problem.
Yeah.
But if the problem takes away the opportunity, what do we really accomplish?
Right. It slows down our growth towards that.
Right.
Man, that's awesome. Count me in. I'm sure count a bunch of people in this room in.
Absolutely.
To be a part of something like that.
Yeah,
because it's nothing like being part of a winning team, and you can't be a winning team without great leadership. And your group proves all of that. All right, we're out of time. Warriors or Celtics? Who's going to win the championship?
Oh, jeez. Celtics.
Celtics, all right.
Yep.
Good. Eastern Conference guy?
Yeah.
That's good, because then next year, when you play them in the playoffs, you can take out the NBA champs. There you go.
We're ready. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Gores.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.